I would like to read the notice first that people received in the mail. Be advised, the Amery Public Works Committee will hold a public hearing at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, January 31st, 2013 at the Amery City Hall to hear comments regarding the installation of sidewalk on Hillcrest Drive from Otis Avenue to Minneapolis Avenue. The committee will take public comments on the concept of installing sidewalk on Hillcrest Drive. The public is encouraged, and thank you very much for coming out on this cold night, is encouraged to attend the meeting or provide comments prior to the meeting in writing for us via U.S. mail or email. And then a note, please. No decision will be made at this meeting regarding the sidewalks on Hillcrest Drive. This meeting is primarily intended to gain public comment on the issue. If sidewalk were to be installed on either side of Hillcrest Drive, there could be a special assessment levied on property owners to pay for the project. The reason for this subject being brought before the public is related to the safety of students using the sidewalk on Hillcrest Drive. Total cost estimates for this project are currently being put together by the city and will be presented at the meeting on January 31st. Specific costs related to properties may not be available at the time of the meeting, only estimates of the project. So to reiterate, there won't be any decisions made tonight. We just want to hear from you folks concerning the project that we're talking about. And maybe before we start, we've received a few emails and letters, so I would like to get those out of the way first.
Let me point at the map real quick.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we are recording this for the cable channel, I wanted to, because we had a couple people come in and they didn't know where Hillcrest was. So I thought I'd just point to it on the map. And I'm sorry, it's small, it's the larger one I could print. But Hillcrest is over by the school. It is where the area is between Otis and Minneapolis. If anybody knows where the brand new bridge is in town, it's directly about a block from there, a block and a half, block and a quarter, whatever you want to call it. So this red area here is Hillcrest Drive, and that's the area that we're discussing tonight at this public hearing. So just wanted to point that out to people who may not know and may be watching this later on the cable channel.
Thank you, Darcy. City Hall received an email from Ron Ellingson, who lives at 470 Hillcrest Drive. I am writing you this in regards to the proposed sidewalk on Hillcrest Avenue. I am opposed to this plan. I've lived on Hillcrest for 20-plus years, and I've watched the kids that walk to and from school. The handful of kids walking can't possibly justify the expense of putting in a sidewalk, especially when there are school buses provided for them. I know because I watch them stopping up and down the street. The taxpayers shouldn't be burdened with a sidewalk when buses are provided. In this time of higher federal taxation and with this bad economy, this is not only unwise, but unfair to expect people that are already struggling to survive to bear this unneeded tax burden. Thank you. And Jack has one.
This is a letter that was received. It's dated January 28th, and it is from Patricia Slater. To whom it may concern, I am a school bus driver for the Amery Public School System. I transport students on a daily basis throughout the school year on this street, Hillcrest Avenue, at least twice a day, and there is at least 6 or more buses that could say the same. Weather permitting, many students and adults also use this street on bicycles and some walkers. My complaint is that the fact that most all of them walk on the wrong side because there is no specific walkway or bicycle lanes. I am assuming most of them have never been taught the rules of the road for walking. These are large groups of walkers in the spring. There are large groups of walkers in the spring and the fall, and they sometimes stretch all the way across the road. Combine that with the few people that correctly walk toward traffic on the left, and all the bicyclists who also have had no training. I had a cyclist almost take out a little girl as she was exiting on the right. The cyclist didn't observe my red flashing lights and stop arm, probably because he wanted to pass me on the right as I was stopped. Hillcrest is a long stretch of downhill, and for that reason he was coming like, excuse my language, but like a bat out of hell. He narrowly missed hitting the girl and kept right on going. This is a bus driver's worst fear, someone getting hurt on a street without sidewalks or bike lanes, and this situation on Hillcrest without designated sidewalks or bike lanes is like an accident waiting to happen. Sidewalks would be the answer to this problem, in my opinion. Thank you, Pat Slater, Amery School Bus Driver.
Let me go over
Do
the
we have
cost.
any more?
No, that's all that pertained to this issue.
Okay. So, I hope everybody signed in back there on the table. If you want to speak, I would ask that you come to the podium and state your name, and we're going to try and limit comments to 5 minutes apiece so everybody gets a chance to be heard. And Fran has the timer.
Before we start, let me go over the cost real quick.
Okay.
Bones, Public Works Director with the City of Amery, put together some costs here. There's two different numbers. Actually, they're the same, but we had two different cost estimates that we went with. Normally in the city, when you've seen sidewalk replaced, or if somebody requests to have sidewalk replaced in the City of Amery, they've typically worked with the Public Works Department to do that work. And so then we bill them for that service, and either they pay for it all at once or they do it over time. We got two estimates here. One is the north side of the street, or Hillcrest Drive, and one is the south side. The north side, to have the Public Works Department do the work, ends up being $39,400. On the south side, to have the Public Works do the work, it's $40,600. Now, Bones went and talked to a local cement contractor that we do work with, and that a lot of people work with here in the area. And to have them do the north side, it was $31,520. And on the south side, it was $32,480. Now, the reason for the difference there, you're going to go, wow, they can do it a lot cheaper. They get a better deal on the concrete than the City of Amery does. So that's part of where the difference there in the cost is how much they pay for a yard of concrete versus what we do, because we don't buy as much in a year. So one of the things that was in the notice is that we'd give you the costs, and so that's what we're sharing with you. I wanted to make sure you got that before we start getting comments.
Okay, with that, we will open for comments.
Which side of the street are you guys leaning toward, north or south?
This is exploratory, so there hasn't been decided. One side is probably more advantageous because there's no break in the path. So they would be, so if somebody was walking on the sidewalk, which is the south side, they would be on the sidewalk until they got to Minneapolis. It's not a big deal if they cross the street there on the north side. Not really been decided. And basically what's going to happen is that whatever happens here, the Public Works Committee will go back and discuss this at their next meeting and decide what course of action to take, or if there's no action to take. So.
Question, you mentioned about the bicycle riders, okay, and I've done some significant tallies.
Diane, would you come up to the podium so this can get on, because we are taping this, so we need to.
Thank you.
Diane Fensler, 344 Hillcrest, representing also Jerry and Cheryl Shimolevsky of 340 Hillcrest, Teresa and Larry Soderberg of 352 2, and Brant Lumen of 306 Hillcrest. And I have prepared a 2-page document with significant work on it, which I would like the City Council to pursue. Essentially, we do not support the proposal to install the sidewalk on Hillcrest Drive based upon 12 areas of research and observation. The first one is very few students currently walk in the street on Hillcrest Drive to and from school. I have used my personal security cameras and personal observation for 6 school days in the past 2 weeks. There are some days when there are 0 pedestrians. I don't know who are students and or adults. There was one day in which I had 75% of the footprints myself. Yes, I do relate to I have seen some of the bicycle riders, okay, which could be solved by a bicycle lane or something else of that type, okay? Secondly, there's insufficient need to provide walking along Hillcrest Drive to reach Amery schools, since the schools provide bus transportation and bus stops along Hillcrest Drive. I personally observed these, interviewed some of the students who were at them, etc. I'd also like to point out that if you're talking about crossing the road, the intersection now at the west end is dangerous. People are going through that stop sign. They are not heeding the buses. They are taking the turn to go east towards the school at too fast a speed, and you would have students having to cross that. Would be an unmonitored place. Number 3, there's no demographic evidence that's presented that shows a likely increase in students requiring sidewalks to commute to Amery schools as pedestrians on Hillcrest Drive. And I assume that the school district, knowing the school district as I do, that they have got some long-range studies on the likelihood of students and where they would be living and transportation, therefore. Number 4, the majority of students that both Jerry Shemilevsky and I, who are constantly monitoring this, have observed, and he's been there since his property was built, they're participating in an AHS staff-supervised field trips. They're going down to the Apple River between the school. This is during the school day. They are monitored by staff. And to the extent that they really need this, first of all, we have wonderful school facilities. The taxpayers in this community are fantastic. I know that, and I'm not sure what the objectives are for these particular field trips, but it appears that it's either an art class or a science class. They could use, I believe, the water that's right on the school campus, the marshland and whatever that happens to be, and the school forest. If not, and they really need to reach the Apple River, they could take sidewalks north on Minneapolis and west on Broadway. Number 5, since the proposed sidewalk would link up with the existing sidewalk at Otis Bridge, first, it would create a dangerous, unmonitored pedestrian crossing, which I pointed out at the Otis Bridge Hillcrest intersection. Second, it would dead end at the intersection. Sarah Palin's bridge to nowhere. It ends up, and there are no houses along the area that it would link up with between Birchwood and the intersection of Otis. And third, okay, that's it. Number 6, what we need right now is better plowing curb to curb on Hillcrest Drive. That's the reason that the kids and or bicycles are out towards the middle of the street. And I understand that the plows cannot plow curb to curb initially, but certainly they could go back and do that. This would ensure the safety of pedestrians, residents, and vehicular traffic. Number 7, we need better enforcement of the traffic ordinances, including parking and driving on the wrong side of the street. Last year, during the problems with the beach, it was ridiculous. There were people who were parked the wrong direction by the Apple River across from my place. They would be there daily for 5 or 6 hours at a time. In addition, you've got people driving the wrong way on the south side of the street in order to access the mailbox and put in their flyers and everything else. 8, we need better enforcement of the safety in public area ordinances, including swimming, fishing, jumping, etc., from the bridge. And this, if we're talking about safety, and also for the use of the Apple River, which is north of Hillcrest Drive. 9th, would ask for improved maintenance, repair, and replacement of several existing city sidewalks, including Keller Avenue between Broadway and South. The sidewalk there is very narrow. It's got huge upheaves. It's impeded by light fixtures, garbage cans, everything else. People are forced out into the street on this existing sidewalk, and if you can't take care of what you've got right now, why would you be adding some more? There are other areas that I've also shown where people, including me, have fallen because of the poor sidewalks. Gilda?
My name is Gilda Sura, and I'm a resident, 352 Hillcrest. Would you please continue for me?
In your time, I'd be happy to do that, Gilda. The other areas that we're requesting improved maintenance and repair are on Harriman Avenue between Birch and Baker, Wisconsin, along Keller Avenue on the North Loop. Number 10, if additional sidewalks were to be installed, we'd ask that you would look for a higher priority in some other areas, which would truly increase the safety and meet the safety needs. And the first one we're looking at is accessing and linking all commercial areas and businesses. Currently, Memorial Drive north of Keller Avenue has businesses that you cannot reach by sidewalk. Riverview Place cannot be reached by sidewalk. The post office, Broadway businesses west of Minneapolis, Wisconsin Avenue northeast of 2nd Street, and Riverside north of Broadway. I don't know Amery very well. I used to be a runner. I tried to walk, and these are areas that not only the pedestrians, not only the students, but the businesses need sidewalks higher than on an intermittent basis by pedestrians going to the school along Hillcrest. The second area that I would recommend for priority for installing new sidewalks would be accessing and linking all public areas and parks, including South Twin Beach, the former beach located on North Twin, Soldiers Field, North Park, the Ice Arena, Michael Park, both trails. And third would be talking about accessing and linking the Amery Schools campus, linking up with existing sidewalks where there are higher numbers of students that are walking and using these sidewalks currently, and the projections, I believe, would be for higher numbers than on Hillcrest, including Minneapolis Avenue north of Broadway, Minneapolis Avenue south of Griffin, Central Avenue between Keller and Minneapolis, Howard Avenue, Stephenson Street, and Broadway area east of Minneapolis. 11th, Amery taxpayers, city officials, and residents have not been provided yet with a detailed cost analysis for both the entire project and the per lineal foot for a sidewalk along the north, and we did get some of this information tonight. We have not been given viable, detailed financial resources and their impact on this particular financing. We have not gotten evidence that as far as what the cost figures, if this would also include the elimination, relocating the current infrastructure. We've got streetlights, we've got signage, we've got mailboxes, curbing, etc. And 12th, using a cost-benefit analysis, and I'm not great at economy, this would cause significant hardship without corresponding benefit, most directly on Hillcrest Drive property owners for the installation and maintenance of the proposed sidewalk. Thank you. Are there any questions in the remainder of Gilda's time?
Thank you,
Can I
Diane.
bring one point up?
Yes.
Yes.
I see where you're going with this, but the reason that we're doing this is somebody brought this to our attention. This isn't something that the city dreamed up. And we have to address it because of the safety issue.
And I'm really glad that you are. I mean, any of you that know my background and my credibility, I live for students. I'm a lifetime teacher. I give a considerable portion of my time and money supporting the Amery students. I think their safety is incredibly important. And I'm really glad that you're bringing this forward and this is part of the process. But I urge that before anything is formally done, that there is a formal study, and I'm sure that this is the first step of many things. Okay, thank you.
I do have one point, because I live in the area as well, and I believe that your first point about the amount of traffic that you observe, currently, this is a seasonal type of
Yes, it is.
situation. And so, when it's 0 or below 0, you're going to have far fewer people walking.
That is
But in
true.
the spring and in the fall, there are many students who are walking in this particular.
I agree that it varies by day, but I've only got the information about this in the last 2 weeks, and that's the only time that I could do my personal observation other than asking Jerry Shemilevsky and sharing some of those reports. I did interview 2 of the students, actually 4 students, 2 high school students and 2 middle school students who live on the area, and they said that there's very little walking during most of the year because as senior high kids, we wouldn't be caught dead walking. And secondly, they said that the only time that they really see large numbers of students needing to walk are during summer school because they felt that the summer school buses were much more crowded than the school year buses. And this is what the kids said. And again, it's secondhand information, but, you know. Yeah, but you're right, it varies by day.
Yeah, and season, so,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, okay.
Thank you, Diane. And we have kind of discussed, it came up at our conversation that we were having, and somebody did bring up a bike path, and I think that maybe is a really something to look into. That would be really good. Is there anyone else to speak? Yes, Fran?
There's Gil this time, is that? Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Yes.
I had a question just briefly. On 10B, you stated that public access, I live by the old North Twin Beach, which we're striving to not call a beach. But that does have sidewalk down to the beach.
Right, what I was concerned about there was the reports in the Amery Free Press last summer about the kids lying in the street.
Yeah,
Not
well,
walking in the street, but lying in the street, and that's what scared me.
you can't, I can give you firsthand information that unless you got a big stick and you're interested in staying there, you can't prevent all types of behavior, you know. And hopefully we've started on the process to control that, but there is sidewalk there. And Soldiers Field has sidewalk along it, right? I mean,
All the way.
Yeah.
The north end of it, but what they do not have is sidewalk on Memorial Drive from the end of Soldiers Field linking up with Keller. And when I attended the 4th of July stuff, the neighbors were screaming and yelling because people were cutting straight through their yards and way out in the street. And that's the section that I was talking about.
Okay.
I think there's only one residence on Memorial Drive. And I own it.
This is the commercial area. I know I've got.
And the commercial area has a sidewalk on it. I mean, we have a sidewalk
Well, the
on,
hair studio.
Hair studio is not covered by it, right, right.
That's the area that I'm talking about.
yes,
right?
I can see that, yeah.
Okay.
Stuart Swenson. We used to live at 324 Hillcrest Drive. We still own that house. I have a couple concerns. One, we have a school bus stop right in front of our house. That's been there for many, many, many years while we lived there. So we know that there shouldn't have to be students walking along that street. We also know that they'll stop at other locations along the street because we've observed them stopping apparently wherever students need to get on the bus, particularly if they're small students. We live our house is on the south side of the street. We do have one concern. Because of the slope of our property, if the sidewalk were to be put in at curb level height and leveled, we would need to have a retaining wall on our property. And I don't know who would be responsible for putting that in, if that would be our expense or if that would be done by somebody else. But we know that that would be needed. I have a concern about snow removal, because if the snow is plowed off of Hillcrest Avenue on the south side of the street, we've got a retaining wall to meet the city's requirement of having that cleared in 24 hours. There's a lot of snow that would need to be removed, and it's not easy to snow to remove because it's filled with sand and salt, from trying to maintain that street. So that's a question we would have of how to get that snow removed. Now, I know the city drops their wings on a lot of the sidewalks, but if there's a retaining wall, how to get that snow up and over a retaining wall without the property owner having to take care of it is an open question and concern on my part.
Thank you, Stuart.
Hi, my name's Rudy Konechny. I live at 461 Hillcrest Drive, and my concern was basically the same as that gentleman's. I live right on the corner of Harrison and Hillcrest, and the city piles all the snow in my yard. I have pictures here, and
I was just there today. Yeah, you do have a lot of snow.
Yes, I have a lot of snow there, and like he said, in order for us to get that cleaned up in 24 hours, it's pretty much impossible. So I do have mixed emotions about this. I have 2 daughters. They're very young. One's in 1st grade and one's only 1. So, and I do see a lot of students, not a lot of students, but enough, coming down that corner, because there's that sharp corner, and those high school, they got that lead foot, and they come around that corner, and they're just flying. And to me, it seems it's only a matter of time until one of our kids or someone's kids get hit, which I would really hate to see. It'd probably devastate me and my children. But on the other hand, the school bus does stop at the end of my driveway and pick up my daughter. So my main concern was the snow removal. So thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Dan Eckerdahl. I'm not on Hillcrest. I'm at 625 Shoreview Court, and I guess I've had a lot of people come to me about this issue. I had the first issue was when my daughter was grazed by a school bus. They called our house, and the school bus drivers said that for years they've been wanting to somehow make it safe along this street here, because I think there's only 3 ways out of the school, I believe, right? Three roads, and that's all the buses and all the students go that direction. And so this one, I'm not sure if they all, I think there's probably evened out all 3 ways. The other 2 outlets do have sidewalks, I believe, along the hospital and along, what's the other side there?
Broadway, Minneapolis.
East, west?
Towards Keller, yeah. Now, then I got a single call from the bus company, and they're concerned. Once again, they said that nobody's stopping. And they want, when they stop, you got to look all around. They got kids coming this way, kids coming that way, and they're saying, I myself have talked to my daughters and said, walk on the right-hand side, slow, stop at the intersections, but they says there's no way we can possibly have everybody control this and have this issue without sidewalks. And so I was kind of, everybody kept coming to me, and I thought, well, see what we can do. I also am against being assessed to the people. I don't think people should be assessed. There should be in the budget so much for sidewalks. And I'm not sure, what is it, a year? You got a different price every year, or what's the price you got towards sidewalks every year?
Well, it's been pretty, Bones can explain that better than I can.
Well, we used to budget $20,000 for sidewalks and repair.
Okay.
Used to.
We used to.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. The economy's a little worse, might be a little less. You got work around money, I understand that. I actually work at a city too. And what I'm asking is maybe even if you did a third at a time, put it in a budget where you can work it out, where you can do a third time. I don't think we should be assessed. People shouldn't be assessed. There's not, 9 houses on that road, they can't take the full brunt of that money. So, if the city would just do it a third at a time for 3 years, or a program like that, would be great. If you can do it all at once, great. But I saw that they put a brand new sidewalk in from the bridge up to Hillcrest. So when I say they don't need a sidewalk there, I'm kind of confused when they say they don't need a sidewalk there, because why they put that one in there then,
There was some grant money involved there.
Okay,
Yeah.
with the bridge.
Yeah, there was some money involved with that.
And the previous bridge was narrow and had no sidewalk,
That's
so.
right.
Sure. And it's a safety issue, because, just talking, I have a lot of people that have approached me with this, and nobody really want to come and bring this up. And I thought, well, my daughter's the one that got grazed by the bus company. So anyways, I got 3 little ones now. They're going to be walking there. My concern is that, if we do have an incident where somebody gets hit, I'm kind of concerned, because if there ain't a sidewalk there, they probably could sue the city. It's an issue of liability, I think. And I've watched it. I've walked it many times. And, there's bad turns, there's trees in the way where you can't see. Some of those trees could be trimmed up. But that's not the issue here. It's still liability and the safety of our kids. My kids, they've even wiped out. When they go around that turn on their bikes, they've hit some sand and wiped out. And they wiped out, and they said, thank God a bus wasn't coming, because they wiped out right into the drive lane. I'm not here to try to say we need to do it or against people on Hillcrest. I understand. I don't think anybody should be assessed here. I just think that we should put, city should pay for it, and how they can do it over a certain amount of time would be great. But I just think, like I said, there's 3 outlets out of school. We got a beautiful school up there. The school system's awesome here. And I'm just looking out for the safety of the kids, especially even with mine now since the bus driver says, I grazed your daughter. And she came home and she goes, yes. She goes, a couple more inches and I would have been hit, So I guess that's my main concern. I mean, either way it's fine with me, but I'm just doing it for the safety of the kids. Me, when I'm driving, I notice too, but every once in a while I come around a bend, oh, there's a kid. It's a bad visibility also.
Question, do your children get picked up in your dead end, in your cul-de-sac, or do they walk out to Hillcrest?
Yeah, they walk out to Hillcrest.
To the bus.
Right in the issue, yeah. And they're at the age now where...
And once they get out, and this gentleman alluded to a bus stop in front of his house, do the kids have to stand in the street in front of your house then to get to... Huh?
I think our stop, is the one you're talking about.
Okay,
Sure.
but
Sure.
the kids have to stand in the street there to wait for the bus?
Or in the grass.
Mine do not.
Where do they come up on your lawn?
Play it on the snow piles.
But that's essentially the street though.
No, they're on the neighbors.
Yeah.
On the
On
neighbor's
the
lawn.
neighbor's lawn,
Or they're on
okay.
the Shoreview on the court. Can I
Hey, I have one more question. Also, I'm concerned about, slipperiness. City does a great job. I mean, I plow to it, and they do a nice job for the city. They do a very nice job. They're out there a good time early. They're cleaning up the roads good. They get the salt, sand down fast. They're doing an awesome job. But you can't get it all the time. Like just the other day here, it rained. If you put it down for the rain, it was going to cover up that salt, and it wasn't going to be effective. You got to actually wait a little bit to get that salt over that rain. So everybody's sliding around until you can get out there to get that salt over that rain, ice. Now that's an issue also. My daughter's sitting on the corner there. They usually stand on the street because excuse me for whoever, my daughters are sitting in their yard. They're standing in someone's yard, but now there's a snowbank there, so they got to stand out in the street. Now, car comes down and slides towards my daughters. If they're on a sidewalk, I don't have an issue because they made the appropriate case to have a safe walkway and where our 3 outlets come out of school. I really couldn't sue the city or I couldn't do nothing about it. It's like, well, you're on a sidewalk, you have a little bit of ways out from the street. I feel more safer that way, But when they're on the street and they get hit with a sliding car, I don't think I got to really describe any more than that. It's just a really unsafe situation. And like I said, I don't want to see anybody assessed. That's not what we wanted to start. When I saw they want to assess the people, I was like, okay, then let's not do it. But then I started thinking, well, let's do the safety of our community, our kids, and let's make the outlet out of all 3 schools safe. That's all I'm looking for.
Thank you.
So thank you.
that must be a tremendously traumatic experience for the entire family. But was she waiting at the bus stop, which is on Shoreview Court, or was she crossing the street, or was she walking to school?
Yeah, she was walking to school on one incident, and the other incident was walking home.
She was grazed twice?
Well, she wasn't grazed the second time, but the bus driver slammed his brakes on and would have hit her if she wasn't. She just wasn't aware. Probably was out a little farther. She should. I mean, unless you go really tight, if you walk normally out here, well, now once you get you're getting in the roadway again. I mean, I tell them to go as close as can the roadway. Or and when it comes to be snow, they walk in the winter time too. When it comes to snow, don't get me wrong, it's hard to get up to that curb with that snowplow. I don't know if you guys ever tried plowing before, but these guys do a really good job, and all we ask is to be a foot away from that curb. They're right on. Sometimes it'll be 2 feet because snow's a little deeper. You can't see that curb. You can come up around, clean up a little bit more, but then you're talking more issues of cost more money because every time you go out to plow, it costs you more money, and the salt cost. So I know what it's all about. So I think actually it's a great job that they do here, and I don't expect them to be right on that curb. That's too hard. I mean, I've done it for 20 years, and I'm not an expert. I'm not on the curb every time. But I'm out there before everything, and I get the road safe, salt, and I tell you what, I've done 360s many times in my great big truck. I got a wing on it too, and I know what it's like. When I see cars coming at me or kids and it's iced out, boy, I tell you what, I literally almost just stop. And I've seen when I first started, I kept going, and I've just missed cars, missed kids, and there's turns there. It's just it's not a straight shot. It's not level. There's a lot of issues we got to work with here. Got a hill there, so like I said, I don't want to see anybody assessed though. I don't think that would be fair. So I'm for everybody on that part of it. I don't think we should do it if you want to assess the people, because I don't think that's fair. But we do have money in the budget and our tax dollars. Maybe they could pay for this. And get more bids, we can go out and get 3, 4, 5 more bids. I got a guy that's concrete work, I can get a bid from him too, So, all right, well, thank you much. Okay.
Sir, I've watched the school bus many times, so I'd sit and have my morning coffee, and I never saw your kids on Hillcrest. They always were on the short court until the bus stopped. Then they crossed on Hillcrest, but I never saw them on the Hillcrest waiting for the bus. They were always on your side of the street.
Oh, well, yeah.
So that's kind of inaccurate to say, because they, when they crossed Hillcrest, which they did when the bus stopped.
Sure.
But I never saw them on Hillcrest waiting for the bus.
Well, that's not the issue here I'm bringing up here. If they're on Hillcrest Avenue, yeah, I'll tell them to get out back on Shoreview Court, and when they see hopefully the bus stops and sees them, they can go up to it. That's not the issue here. Wherever you want them to stand, I can tell them to stand there. I mean, if you want me to stand half the block down, I can do that too. But the problem, that's not the issue here. When you slide, you don't know which way you're going. They could slide right into that corner. I've been in that truck. These trucks ain't 4-wheel drive. And these trucks are literally terrible on ice. They're terrible on ice. And when you go sliding, you better get your wing down on your plow and try to grab a curb, basically. And, I went over both. I went into people's yards. I went 2 feet from a house one time. I mean, your slide is treacherous, And, and like you say, I heard some issues about only at summer times when they walk. Well, no, kids walk in the winter time too. But even in the summer, I don't expect the Public Works Department to be sweeping that every week and making sure that because when it rains, the sand comes out of the boulevards, and it's almost impossible to always keep those streets clean. You have to literally sweep the streets once a week to keep that where you don't got and it always comes down the hill. If you ever notice that first from Minneapolis down that first corner there, I think you live there, yeah. It's always sand there. You can't keep that clean all the time. And when the girls come down in their bikes, they're wiping out,
And I've seen it happen.
Yeah. And and sometimes they're not stopping, and they think, well, there's no sidewalk. Why do we got to stop? We know how kids think. So now we're telling them. It's like I say, it's just I don't want to make a big thing out of this, but I just know it's a public safety issue. It's to do with the school. It's our kids. What's it going to take a fatality for us to change it? My daughter got grazed. I've seen some kids. I've talked to a couple kids there too. I got neighbors down the street. They walk and then they say, "Boy, have you ever been close to being hit?" Oh yeah. It's been hit and miss for a long time now. So, and like I said, the other 2 outlets have sidewalks, and I think our street is more important. The other outlets are 6 blocks down either way. We're right in front of the school. And there is a lot of kids that walk. I watch. Go ahead.
But are they required to walk or don't, or isn't their busing provided? First, secondly,
I agree.
Intersections, that is a question, both crossing, the one that I mentioned and the one that you say, the kids are not watching and pedestrians are not watching when they cross the street.
But this is just, once again, we're getting off the subject. The subject is the safety of the kids.
Yes, we are, and I wondered if there's anybody else who wants to speak.
Right, no,
thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Craig Peters. I own the property at 348 Hillcrest. There were 2 guys who went into a bar. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you, Craig.
One of them wouldn't have been Craig, would it?
No. My concern is about the maintenance of the sidewalk if it were to be put in, because I have those empty lots that go all the way around the corner. If you put it on the south side, I'm not coming down here to take care of it. And then what happens if the ice melts and the snow melts and there's ice across there and stuff? I live up in St. Croix Falls. want to be held liable for that. And another thing about the bike lane, if you painted a line along one side of it, that would keep the pedestrians in that white line. That would be a cheaper way to go, I think. But I know you wouldn't see it in the wintertime, but...
No, it would. They also, when they do bike lanes, they typically have signage that's associated with it as well.
Sure.
So you have not just the painted area on the, and we've all seen them. If you go in the Twin Cities, they're all over the place. But they also have signage. They kind of, it's so far down on those bike lanes where it says bike lane.
Yep.
And identifies it.
Well, could you do a bike lane, pedestrian lane? Bike and pedestrian lane?
That's something to investigate as part of the process of looking into this alternatives, yep. One thing that was mentioned by the last person who came up is that the idea that the city installed. So if the city installed it, per the ordinance that's out there now, is that if there's sidewalk in front of your home or your business or your property, you're responsible for it after it's in. So if you buy a house there or you decide to put sidewalk or the city decides to put sidewalk in, then you're responsible for the maintenance there, for shoveling, and if trees push it up and you have to replace it or it cracks, then it's the responsibility of the property owner after it's installed. So that's one piece that I think that was left out of, and I'm not saying that you were wrong to say that maybe the city should do it, it's left out of that process there. So there's installing the sidewalk and then there's maintaining it. So you got to do that too.
So are you saying that I'm gonna have to shovel all of that snow that you're, I mean, I can show you pictures, and there is a street sign, it stands this tall, and that pile is here.
Probably on one of my pictures I took today, yeah. There's a lot of snow there.
It's too much, there's no way I can do that myself, and I'm not gonna have my wife out there or my children out there doing it either. There's just no way, that's what I'm here for, is there's no absolutely way I'm going to shovel that big mountain of snow.
Well, and like I said, it's not even been determined if we would even, if we did do it, which side of the street would he?
Right, but...
Well, I'm thinking if it was on the north side, then that's city property right alongside the river, isn't it? Or who owns that?
Right here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's all private. I thought there might be some city-owned areas there, but there isn't.
You own all that way? Oh.
I thought you were just being a nice lady.
Wow. So, both her and I are in the same boat. We have hundreds of feet of sidewalk.
There's about 4 property owners that have a larger chunk than the majority. 4 or 5. Yeah, own most of have the largest piece of property where a sidewalk would go.
Okay. So could I put a no crossing zone?
Defeats the idea of putting a sidewalk.
Free flares.
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, thank you.
My name's Kara Duhon, and I live at 439 Hillcrest. And a lot of what you guys are bringing up is things I'm concerned about too. My property goes along the river, and it's over 600 feet, I think my property is, and I feel like that would be a huge responsibility to clear that snow. And I know how the plows, how they can't help it, that's where the snow goes on the sidewalk. Also, my concern with the sidewalk being installed is just, right now, people, as you can see, thought that was public property, my property. And if you put a sidewalk there, I feel like people are going to think it's even more open to the public. And there's a little access down to the river that people go all the time. And I don't have a problem with it, but if a sidewalk's installed, I think that's going to be a big problem. So that's my main concern, is the snow removal. I understand the safety with the kids and walking. I also walk to work and walk in Amery a lot. I enjoy walking. I just think some of the common sense about how you walk on a street in town would help a lot. Not common sense, or just explain what the rules are would help that. And the speed of the cars. What was my other point about walking? Oh, and I've noticed too, this class, I think that when I go home for lunch a lot, I see the class come out, and I've noticed them walking on both sides of the street, like it's not a street, and then I see adults with them, and I'm very just hard to think that an adult wouldn't explain, like, you don't walk on both sides of the road. So that is my main concern.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, then, I think we've heard from everybody. Bones, do you have anything to add?
Just a couple of things. I believe Mr. Shield was here, and it got talked about, students riding the bus and stuff like that. And what I've heard in the past, that the more students that ride the bus, the more funding that the school district gets. And I know that the school, really tries to push, for the students to ride the bus. And it was a few years ago when, when there was talk about maybe eliminating the buses in a certain area there was a Safe Schools type of a grant that we participated with the school and went out and did some walking and different things like that. And that was a concerned area as well there. I can tell you that we go into the schools each year. We do bike safety classes. We go in for summer safety. We teach the kids to walk against traffic, as far as they can go, to ride their bikes on the right side of the road the same way as traffic's there.
Intersections.
Yep, and all that stuff. There certainly was a little better, and we spent a little more time when we had a school resource officer there. We had a little better handle on it. We do take speed complaints at times, which we try to address, and primarily our morning and afternoon officers that's one of their priorities, is to patrol around the school areas when the most traffic is there. So those are just some comments that I wanted to bring up.
Thank you, Tom. Well, if there are no other comments, I think we will close the public hearing on the sidewalks. And I thank you for all your input. And as Darcy said, this is just the beginning, because we will have to, public safety will have to be involved, and public finance. So this was the first step. And thank you very much.
And thank you for all coming.
Thank you.
Great turnout on a cold night.
Yeah, thank you.